Hello everyone and welcome back to Planet Zoo. My name is Magikev and this is episode 6 of our Mission Zoo franchise series. So, welcome back to the mission. Now, what you see before you is, as it says, an aviary of sorts that I have pre-made in one of my test zoos and plopped down here and sort of sorted out all of the paths to get it ready so that we can immediately just start going into creating a habitat out of it. Now, this aviary building, or pajarera, as it is known in Spanish, pajarera is just the Spanish word for aviary, in case that wasn't clear. So this aviary building has space for 5 exhibits, with these nice airy viewing areas. It also has a central area that opens up to 2 sides, and the sides are they're basically greenhouse sides with, let me show you, with sliding doors to open and close the greenhouse, because the animals that I want to put into this aviary are tropical animals. I want to put cassowaries on this side. I want to put flamingos on this side. And in this corner, I'm going to be putting Capuchin monkeys. So, like I said, those are all tropical animals. And in this arid, sort of California-style environment, tropicals will not do well. They need humidity. So this is the perfect place to be able to throw in some tropical plants for these tropical animals inside of the greenhouse. Now, this building also has like integrated facilities, so I should be able to put the exhibit doors here for both sides, and it also has a small keeper hut on each side as well to service each side respectively. Now, this building is huge, as you can see, and it can basically fit 8 different types of animals, which is amazing. So we have the Capuchin monkeys here, flamingos, cassowaries on this side, and then we should have 5 additional animals to fill out these standalone exhibits. So we're going to jump right in and immediately get started on working on the aviary, the indoor and outdoor exhibits. It's going to be a lot of work because we are going to be putting 3 species within this one building. So the first thing that I did here was put in the barriers, and I completed the barriers, and I'm not going to show you that because, oh my god, that was the most tedious thing that I have had to do yet in Planet Zoo. And I mean, it's to be expected. This is a really huge building. It's technically 3 exhibits, but yeah, it took so long. There was a lot of finagling. I had to move around a lot of doors, and you know, it's you don't need to see that. I'll just show you this. So basically, the staff can come through these like backstage areas here, and there's a staff path here, so guests can't come back here, but there's nothing stopping staff from walking through this door. And this side, there is a keeper hut as well as this side. The keeper huts are connected to the path. Everything works. This exhibit is going to be the cassowary exhibit. So the door opens up into their little shelter, and then they have this really big covered area, which is basically the greenhouse, the aviary. And then I wanted to have it be sort of open air, so there's a lot of space up here because it is an aviary. But there has to definitely be a barrier between guests and cassowaries because they are kind of deadly animals. So that's in contrast to over here. This is the indoor section of the flamingo habitat. So we don't really need that hefty of a barrier over here. Same sort of deal. This is a staff path, so guests can't come through here, but this is the entrance to the flamingo exhibit into a shelter here. They have their covered aviary area, which also doubles as a shelter. And then they can come out here to this wide, like, swath of water and land. And then that leaves the Capuchin monkey habitat, which, I mean, they're climbing animals, so I had to make sure that the entire area was blocked off so that they couldn't get out. And I did some like wooden framing here just to make it look a little bit nicer and sort of reflect like if you've ever been in a rainforest house at a zoo before, a lot of times the monkeys are in like sealed off areas like this, and your method of viewing them is like glass panes in like set in framing. So yeah. Same thing with the monkey habitat. It's just repeated over here. They can enter, the keeper can enter here into the shelter, and then from there they can go into the greenhouse area. And for the monkeys, the door is closed so that they cannot get out. So yeah, like I said, that took so long, but that's all done. And the next step is going to be putting the animals in, the fun stuff now, putting the animals in, and then we're going to put plants, rocks, terrain, enrichment, and we're just going to make their welfare 100. So I wanted to start with the monkeys because I knew they'd be difficult, and oh my god, that is an understatement. I just had so much trouble with this habitat in particular. The monkeys kept escaping, which you'll see later. So I had to redo their climbing space and slowly move things away from the walls like 5 different times. And I had to expand the greenhouse and continue moving things around to make sure they had adequate traversable area. You're definitely not going to see all of the fiddling around because there was just way too much of it, but I'll give you a good little tour of the final habitat in its problem-free working state at the end of this video. So I wanted to start with the climbing areas because they're my least favorite parts to make and they can be kind of complicated. I used the really big dark logs and made them go pretty close up to the ceiling to mimic tree trunks. And I used liana vines and ropes to look like clusters of vines tied onto the wood. I'm also just using the climbable log pieces from the habitat menu for platforms. I think they're fine. I think they're good enough. Like, I'd like to be able to be a little bit better at making like climbing structures, but I feel like I have to draw the line with creative effort somewhere. And creating climbing structures has just been the one thing that I've just kind of like not been interested in like customizing. So the pre-made pieces are fine here, and I do think that they look good too. As far as the climbing network goes, I wanted it to go throughout the habitat so that the monkeys could get from one side to the other without really needing to go on the ground. And as for the climbable part that went into their shelter, I was just pretty much trying to copy those cat climbing structures that people have like on their walls. And I will warn you, a lot of the climbing structure within the metal shelter turned out to be a no-no. Because these monkeys can climb through walls, which I just found out. Like, I don't know if that's just a glitch within my own game or it's like an established glitch that like the community knows about, but it happened to me. So be warned, if you're building a climbing structure close to a wall and the wall is the edge of the exhibit, the monkeys will probably escape. For plants, I went very dense here. I wanted it to look like you were looking right into a rainforest. The density kind of made plant placement a little difficult as more went in, because they just kind of like fill up the space, and then they sort of want to like snap to the other plants instead of snap to the ground. So it did make it a little bit difficult, but I think it was worth it. I think it looks really cool. It's probably borderline too many plants, but it's still cool. So the plants I used are Cecropia, tamarind, banana, acai, coconut palm, Brazil nut saplings, elephant ears, the Swiss cheese plant, lobster claw, and custard apple. And I used the custard apple sunk down into the ground as a low, like filler ground cover. And I sunk down some of the trees just so that they would fit within the building. I also threw in some epiphytes like Cattleya orchid and bromeliad on the trunks of the trees. And after the plants, I placed the rest of the habitat basics like the enrichment items and bedding. Although a lot of them will have to be moved off camera later. And to finish up the monkey habitat, or so I thought at the time, I put the roof back on. And then a few minutes later, the monkeys started phasing through the walls. Like, look at this. What is this nonsense? Look, there they go, like 3 of them at once, just doing like an etheric side shuffle in midair through the wall. Anyway, I was able to figure it out through a lot of trial and error. This section in here seems to be fine, although they can just hop right through this wall right here. But yeah, it was just a whole lot of like this kind of deal where it's like, okay, I'm gonna move this just a little bit, or delete something and then leave it and then run the game and then wait and then see if anything gets out, and then if something escapes, then I gotta come back and like move it just a little bit more. And yeah, needless to say, very tedious. And if you decide that you want to put monkeys in your own zoo and you want to do some sort of like tropical house type thing for them, which is very realistic for monkeys in most zoos, they would be in this type of setup, then just make sure that when you're doing your climbing areas, if you have them next to the edge of the exhibit, or the habitat rather, they will most likely be able to escape if you're not careful. And it's a real pain in the butt to try and fiddle with that after you have everything else done, and now you just have to come back, move something, wait, move it again, wait. But as far as the monkeys go, 95% welfare, which is awesome. Everything is great. The only problem that they have is they are a little pressed for navigable land area, but I honestly don't care because this habitat gave me so much trouble. But I think there are something like 11 monkeys in here. Yeah, plus a baby. And so, I mean, it just makes sense that they're pressed for land space, but I don't think it really matters. 95 welfare, it's fine. I did have to move some things around within the greenhouse area here. Like I deleted the Cecropia tree that was over here, and because that was taking up land area that it didn't need to. And here, I'll unpause it so we can see the, okay, floating monkey. The glitches in this area, just constant. I don't know if the monkeys are just a glitchy animal or what, but yeah. Yeah, so I had to remove that like feeding platform here because the zookeeper couldn't even access it to fill it, and the zookeeper really only fills like enrichment items anyway when they're in the exhibit. So I got rid of that. But yeah, it seems like the monkeys are really into it, which is good because it was way too much effort. So they better be happy. No one's escaping. Nice and spacious. This is what it looks like from the outside. You can faintly see all of the tropical plants in there. And here, let me show you from the inside of the aviary. You know, just a standard like windowed setup. Like I said, this is quite a realistic like setup for monkeys in any zoo. And if Mission Zoo were to have monkeys in it, it would most realistically be in this like tropical greenhouse type building too. So I think that it came out very good, although I really don't want to have to revisit them ever again. Yeah, last thing about the monkeys, the view. See, the guests are also very happy with the setup. They can just come right over and they can easily see the monkeys down in here. When the zookeeper fills up the ice block, they can see them eating, they can see them climbing all over the structures. So yes, it was a pain in the butt, but overall success on the monkey exhibit. All right, so that brings us to the end. So yeah, thank you again for clicking. I hope you're enjoying the Mission Zoo series, and I'll see you in the next episode where we get to tackle the cassowary and the flamingo sections of the aviary. All right, bye. And I almost forgot, if you like what you see, then make sure that you like or subscribe or both for more. Okay, bye for real now.